It's great to have such a good turnout today to welcome my Wharton MBA classmate and old friend, Gopi, to join us in conversation. For those who I've not met before, my name is Michael Goldberg, and I'm our executive director of the Veale Institute for Entrepreneurship at Case Western Reserve University. And I also have the privilege of teaching at our Weatherhead School of Management courses in the business school. This is our entrepreneurship speaker series, and it's been awesome to tap into old friends like Gopi to spend a few minutes to share their experiences. All of our speaker series events are moderated by students, and we're thrilled that Akinjan Bashar, who is an engineering student, a student that participated in our remote entrepreneurship project program last summer, and a native of Turkey, one of my favorite places to visit in the world, who will be moderating the discussion with Gopi today. So for those that are on Zoom, just let Akinjan know if you have questions, either in the chat or you can raise your hand. If you're watching on LinkedIn Live, just put a comment in the stream, and then Doug and I'll be monitoring. And we want this to be really active and participatory. And knowing Gopi, I know he would love your questions as well. So I will turn it over to Akinjan, who's going to run the show. And it's great to see everybody today.
Thank you, Professor Goldberg. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining. My name is Akinjan Bashar. I'm a fifth-year engineering and economics student here at Case. And I have the pleasure of moderating this chat with Gopi Kallayil. He is currently the Chief Evangelist for Digital Transformation and Strategy at Google. So Gopi, thank you for joining us. So I just wanted to ask you about your current role at Google. So if you tell us a little bit more about that and different experiences you had leading up to your current position.
Yeah, before you do that, Akinjan, a small request to the students. This is totally optional, but if you will, please turn your cameras on. I'd love to see you. And I'd love to have been on the campus and made real eye contact with you. Thank you, Barry. The more I can. Now, I can only see a few people in the frame, but periodically I keep scrolling through, because this way it's symmetrical. You can see me, I can see you. We can have some level of interaction. It makes things such more richer. Thank you, ML, Mabel, Jadon, Jaden. Yeah, thank you for all one by one people are coming on. Barry, Mindy, C. Mayers, thank you. All right, Akinjan, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you about your current role at Google right now and different positions you held throughout your career.
Sure, yeah. I've been at Google for 15 years. It's been a pretty privileged position. I feel very fortunate. When I joined, the company had two products, a little white box where you could search for stuff and little text ads that ran next to it. And there was no YouTube, no Android, no Chrome, no self-driving cars. None of these things existed at the company. So I had a ringside view of watching some brilliant colleagues build all that over the years to what it is now, a company with about $165 billion in revenues. And my current role, the formal title is Chief Evangelist for Digital Transformation and Strategy, immediately designed to communicate almost nothing but sounding like very fancy. But what it means is Google works with very large customers on the marketing services side, companies like P&G or a Nike or a Starbucks or a Volkswagen. And in this role, which I created for myself about 8 months ago, I work with the C-levels of these companies, the CEOs, CMOs typically, and help them understand how to transform the business with digital at the center of it. And I believe in a few minutes, Akinjan is going to ask a few more questions while I try to deconstruct that for you.
Yeah, so I wanted to dig a little deeper about what digital transformation looks like for the companies you work with, and also what it looks like for the customers they serve.
Sure, yeah. So everyone's life, all of your lives has dramatically changed with digital technology at the center. We've become so used to grabbing what I call the 79th organ in the human body and using this to do all kinds of things, like you can click on it. It's become a remote control to the world. You click twice on it and a car shows up at your door to take you to the airport. You can order food with it or get milk to your door. You can find entertainment. You can get so much of your life is driven by it. It's a substitute for cash, etc. So consumers' lives are changing dramatically, and business models have to keep pace with that. Let me give you an example. Oh, Michael, you're taking a picture. I hope you shared with your classmates. They won't believe this ever happened. So let me give you an example of it. Take something like coffee, right? It's a fundamentally physical product. You need to walk into a coffee shop and talk to a barista and get a hot cup of latte. And you would think that there's nothing digital can touch in that realm. Many other industries could be disrupted, but coffee can be. But if you look at what Starbucks has done, once they realized, especially during the pandemic, 80% of their orders were grab and go. You no longer sit in the Starbucks store and have coffee and listen to music and catch up on news. Their app has become central to their business model. So how many of you, raise your hands if you use the Starbucks app? Okay. I see like about half the hands go, right? Because if you look at something like the Starbucks app, 25% of their orders go through that one app. And when you go to that app, it doesn't show you all the 70 items on the menu. It shows the 7 items that Bridget likes to order. It's customized for her. And when you go and order, it tells you as soon as you place the order, your drink will be ready in 4 minutes, and we'll alert you when it's ready. Why do they do that? Because consumer expectations have shifted. Ever since the rideshare companies like Uber and Lyft have taught us that when we click, it immediately says how quickly the car will be at your door. And turn by turn, it shows you where the car is, so you know exactly where the driver is. We are expecting that of every other service, and Starbucks has to adapt to it. It shows a map as to how to get to the store. You wonder, why do I need to know my Starbucks? I know where it is. But there are situations you'll get off an airplane and say Atlanta Airport, quickly order a cup between flights, and where in the airport is the Starbucks, and the map actually guides you. And one little thing, now that they know, because you've signed it through the app, they know a little bit about you. Look at the level of customization. You get a cup of coffee, and on it, they print your name on it. And it's just a very disposable product, but it's customized for you. It says Michael on it. And I was thinking that if they're able to put your name, how soon will it be? Optionally, they can put your picture, customize it even more. And if they know that, Emmett is interested in a particular kind of music, or Jaden is interested in a particular kind of sport, they can add a trivia question on it and make that experience even more richer. So you can keep thinking about all of these things that digital technology enables. It's taken a humble product like a cup of coffee and completely transformed it to a highly personalized, unique experience. And they can charge $4.50 premium price for it in the process as well. Since you're all, some of your business students, I'll tell you one more interesting that this has created. The Starbucks payment app is the #1 payment app in the US now. More than Apple Pay, more than Google Pay, more humans use the Starbucks payment app. It's not even like a payment services company. And often when people pay, because of the whole gift card program, they put $50, $100 on the app even before they have bought the coffee. So they're paying the company in advance for a cup of coffee they might buy 6 weeks from now. And Starbucks now has a big sum of operating cash float that's available to them, where the customers are essentially funding the business. So that's like one story I can generate what I mean by digital transformation, all powered by their rewards app sitting on a mobile phone. And now you think of similar kind of transformations in the auto industry, in the luxury retail industry. And this is the possibility I get to imagine with our clients. Like those, I don't know if somebody's from France, but tomorrow I am meeting with a French retailer, Fnac Darty, the same thing. I'm trying to look at how is the business changing, how are the needs of French consumers changing, and what is it that we can do together to transform the business to adapt to digital.
Yeah, thank you. I feel like the improvements have been immense in terms of customers. I wanted to shift it to another level as humans, I wanted to ask you about, you talk about taking your meds in your book, and I wanted to ask you about how this digital transformation is affecting us as in our personal lives, and is it making it easier to connect with ourselves, or is it making it harder for ourselves because of all the distraction it brings?
It is both, depending on how you use it. It's easy to blame the technology, but these things are inert. It's a relationship to the technology that we manage. We can say that, oh, these technologies distract us and I need to put my phone away and this is creating a problem for our children, etc. Even before this technology arrived, how did you manage your relationship with fire? Let me use that as an example. So a few million years ago, humans discovered fire and found it an extremely useful force in nature. It cooks your food, it smelts your steel, it keeps you warm, it keeps predators away. And yet, very quickly, humans also learned that if you misuse it, it can burn your finger, it can burn your house down, it can burn your city down, sometimes done with malice. In a similar way, these technologies are extremely useful. It allows us to connect. It's thanks to this that right now, in the middle of a pandemic, we are still able to have some semblance of normalcy and gather like this around the digital fireplace and have a conversation. Can you imagine 5 years ago if the pandemic had hit, when this technology was not available, how would we have coped with it? So it is extremely beneficial. It has changed our access to information, entertainment, human connection, the speed with which we can get things done. It has dramatically improved productivity in the world, which has lifted billions of people out of the poverty line. And technology has had a big role to play in it, that at least 1 billion people have been lifted out of above the poverty line in the last 20 years. However, it can also be endlessly distracting. If we don't manage a relationship to it, it can completely defragment your brain. Our attention can get very scattered, and we can spend a whole day in trivial stuff without being engaged in a deep thinking, focused, productive way. And Akinjan, I would say that that's not the fault of the technology. The technology sits there as an inert, highly powerful capability. It is a relationship to the technology that we need to manage. And therefore, the MEDS formula really comes in handy, at least for me personally. Do you want me to explain it?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Actually, thinking about it during the pandemic as I continue to work, I changed the formula from the TED talk I gave, from the TEDx talk, to give myself medals every day. I give myself medals every day. So in case you're wondering, what does medal stands for? It's the same as the word medal, what you'd wear around your neck after a race. But M is for meditation, E is for exercise, D is diet as in healthy nutrition, A is for appreciation, living with an attitude of gratitude. And then that's 4, MADA. L is for learning something new and complex every day so that it's exercise for the brain, much like running or lifting weights or biking maybe for the body. Hold on, I need to wake up the screen. Zoom does this every time. It puts a computer to sleep thinking there's no activity. Okay, I'm back on. So MEDAL. S is for sleep, the restorative aspect of your life, and S is for social connection. So on a daily basis, I try to fit some element of this. So for example, if you look at today, noon, I'll stop work. A group of Googlers get together and we meditate together in a program called GPOS every day at noon. So it's become like a standard non-negotiable routine for me. Stop at noon and meditate with the Googlers, noon Pacific. And it happens all over the world. 3:30, I will be doing interval training. I do it 3 times a week, high intensity interval training. So that takes care of my E part of it. In terms of diet, my primary food source is plant-based whole food with as close to the natural state as possible, etc.
Thank you. I think one other question I had that kind of ties into this topic is, with the digital transformation, I feel like we started seeing some companies pushing the limits of their human workers further and further. So I wanted to ask you about how you or your team are putting in safeguards, or how you guys are collaborating with different people or researchers in terms of implementing the digital transformations in a humane way possible.
What did you mean by push did you said push human beings harder and harder?
Yeah, like in terms of the way they're tracking their employees, the way they are asking them to operate within the facilities. And I feel like this comes with the digital transformation and the way they're starting to collect more and more data. And I was wondering how you guys are working to help do that in a humane way.
Yeah. So, how organizations treat their employees, long before there was technology, there were these kind of issues when we used to work in factories, when we used to work on farms, and we had to continue asking that question. How Google takes a very kind and benevolent approach in terms of the relationship with its employees. It's famed for it. For years, it's always been considered the best place to work, and there's a reason for that. And especially during the pandemic, the company has been paying extreme health to mental and physical health and put in place lots of things to make sure that employees are safe and healthy. I'll just give you a few examples of that. This whole lockdown or work from home was I remember last year it started, we almost a year past it, March 10th, long before there was any government mandate. The company had figured out that it's safer to have employees in their homes and not coming into contact with the virus as it was spreading. And even now, they said till September, they've asked employees, you can stay at home optionally, even after we go back to office. And this way people can plan for working from home or being in other locations with the children or being back with their parents or children with their grandparents, etc. So many things. There's a chief resilience officer at Google. There's somebody who's got a PhD in resilience. They've hired someone, and she's been there for a while. And they've rolled out an entire program to help us with our resilience. So all the medals are incorporated into the work culture at Google. So Google takes an extremely humane approach to think about how employees are coping. For young parents with children, or maybe they're taking care of relatives or their parents, you're caring for somebody, they allow you to have a very flexible time. You can even say, I can only work 4 days a week because the other 4 days a day, because the other 4 days I have to care for someone. And they've made allowances for that during this period. Last Friday, they gave the entire company off. The CEO said everyone needs a break, hold 1 day off, just like that. And it's like snow day at school. And in this quarter, they said, if you take 4 days off, you get a 5th day's bonus. So they encourage people. Restaurant renewal is a big part of the culture here. And caring for the whole being is built into the work style of the company. So we all have flexible hours. We can choose when we want to work. We can take time off when we want to work. It is extremely generous that way. But ultimately, self-care has to be a personal responsibility. There's only so much an organization can do. At the end of the day, Akinjan, every person is responsible for his and all holistic wellness. Nobody else can do it for you. So instead of expecting an organization to do it, we have to take care of it ourselves.
Yeah, thank you. I had a question from Brian. Brian, do you want to ask the question yourself, or do you want me to?
Go for it. So the examples I've heard and seen of digital transformation seem to be a tool that companies implement for their profit. Are there opportunities for me as an individual to implement digital transformation for my benefit?
In your personal life? Where are you, Brian? I was trying to find you on the video. Is your video on? Can't see you.
I can start it, but I have questionable lighting. I'm not sure where I appear on your.
Oh, no, the lighting is perfect. Brian, no, there's nothing wrong. Thank you. Now I can see you well. See, this is so important. Talk of humane aspects of interaction. And I had a certain image from the voice, I had to imagine who you are and what you may look like and where you are. And the minute you turn the video on, that completely changes. So thank you for doing it. So question for, you're saying, can I do digital transformation at a personal individual level? Or do you mean like, can I as one individual affect digital transformation? Can you repeat the question again?
Either way, it seems like I'm not Starbucks. I'm not going to implement an app to customize my coffee, but are there opportunities as an individual for me to do digital transformation in my personal life, or to change how companies do it for me?
Absolutely. Let me give you 5 examples of what you already do and you've been doing for many years. How do you find your way around when you have to drive from Cleveland to Chicago? You roll down the windows or ask someone, or do you ask your phone to tell you, and it tells you precisely, right? Example 1. Right. Example 2, if I ask you for information on the works of a 16th century composer, how would you go find the information? And you have access to pretty much all published knowledge in the world. I don't know if you're a student or faculty, but what the nature of the work you do, or work at the university, but or studying there. But in whatever your context or relationship with the university, think of how you complete your academic work. Where do you connect with the other published bodies of work that's available there? Or example 4, when you have to quickly entertain yourself, and if you're looking for digital entertainment, if you want to go get news on the Ever Given stuck in the Suez Canal, where do you go find it? If you want to book a flight these days, where are you most likely? Are you going to walk into a travel agent's office, or are you going to use some of the methods, right? And I can go endlessly. If you get Akinjan and Michael said, hey, let's go to Turkey and have a nice time there, how would you research? Where do you want to go to? All of those are examples of digital transformation that is already embedded extensively in our life. And these days, we stand at a kitchen, and if you want to cook food, you don't look at a recipe book. Instead, you just say, "Hey, Google, give me the recipe for mint samosas," and start from there.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Brian. Victoria, would you like to introduce yourself and ask your question?
Let me try to find Victoria on the video. Oh, I see you, Victoria Deng. Hey, Victoria.
Hello.
Thank you for keeping your video on through the thing. It was really nice to, again, have that personal connection. Go ahead, Victoria.
So I graduated from Case undergrad, and I'm now a med student at Case.
You said you're a med student?
Yes.
Fantastic.
So my question is that so many companies now are trying to find more ways to make our lives easier with technology. So how can they balance that with the importance that you were talking about earlier of not becoming fragmented or forming a dependence on the pervasiveness of tech products in our lives now?
Yeah, again, I would say, Victoria, the responsibility is up to us, and humans are still trying to figure this thing out, our relationship with technology. Early on, I mentioned the example of fire, and it was good to cook our food and warm our homes, and yet, if it is not used correctly, it could burn down, it could be extremely dangerous. In the same way with technology, we're still not trying to figure out our relationship with it, and I don't think we're still in such early years. That our relationship with is transforming. Don't forget that the planet has been here for 3.5 billion years. Of that, 4.5 billion years by estimates by geologists. Humans have been only for 150,000 years, a tiny portion of it. And most of these technologies that we associate with modern day progress, like air travel or electricity, has been around only like hundreds of years, right? Air travel, only the first flight was 107 years ago. And then if you look at all these apps that you're talking about, digital technology, how old do you think is the smartphone? 13 years ago, the first smartphone was introduced. So it's only the last decade, and most of the apps that we think are indispensable in our life have been around only for like a DoorDash or ordering of Amazon. Is primarily like in the last 5-7 years or so. This is very, very, very recent in human history, and we're still trying to figure out its place in our life. What did we do with fire? Eventually, we figured out that if we enclose it in an oven or a fireplace and handle it with mittens and tongs, we can use it in a careful way and yet keep ourselves safe. And then we had to put in place systems like fire alarms go off and buildings are fire code and firefighting forces are organized in every city and they'll come and help you. We are yet to create those kind of systems, I think, in the case of technology. So personally, you have to make some choices. So the other times, Victoria, when you find that you are not able to wean yourself away from all the pings and the rings and the distractions on the phone when you should really be sitting there quietly and meditating or listening to a piece of music or taking a walk in nature. Yeah? Okay, hold up your phone. I'll teach you a little trick. It's the most powerful trick in the book. Okay. Show me the power button. Okay, you have the power to wield that button. Push that button, okay, and turn the power off. That's all it takes. And this thing is no longer, and it just becomes like a paperweight. It's an inert piece of electronics. We have the choice on what do we do with it. So exercise the choice all the time. Here are a few things I do with me. All my alerts are turned off, so it's not constantly beeping and distracting my attention. I look at it when I chose to. I turn it off at night and put it away. It's not even near my bed. When I exercise, I always do it outdoors because I don't not on a treadmill or a Peloton, and I connect with nature. I don't listen to podcasts. I don't listen to music. I want to listen to the wind. I want to listen to the sound of nature. That's a personal choice. When I go biking, I want to bike and I'm just racing against it, and I want to feel the wind in my face. So there are many choices like that I've made to disconnect from this consciously. I use it when it can serve me, and I put it away when I don't need it, when I don't need to do other things. So figure out routines and rhythms like that. I do use it when I meditate as a meditation timer, but all it does is it tells me when 20 minutes is up or 30 minutes is up, but everything automatically turns off. And these days, all these providers are also building in many, many other features to help you with that. So on an Android phone, go look up this set of services called digital well-being, where it gives you a lot of useful tools, like it tells you how often you turn on the phone and how often you are, and how much time are you spending on it. It can automatically gray out the screen. You can say after 9 o'clock, gray out the screen and turn itself off, or no more messages or updates after a certain time. Lots of things like that you can set to, again, fit around your lifestyle. So constantly exercise the choice. In Indian philosophy, it's called viveka, discrimination. So we have that discrimination power to use all that, including the most powerful I mentioned in the beginning, Victoria, the power button. Use the power to turn the power, to power down your phone. It won't bother you anymore.
Thank you for the question. I see Sarah has a question. Sarah, would you like to introduce yourself and ask your question?
Sure.
Hello, Sarah.
Hi, I'm so sorry. My video is not turned on because sometimes it kind of messes with the Wi-Fi. I can try to turn it on for when I'm talking. We'll see how it goes. But hi.
Hi, Sarah. Where are you calling from?
So I'm in Cleveland, Ohio. I graduated from Case Western in 2020, May. So I finished my career in New Jersey at my parents' house, but I'm back and I live in Shaker Square. So yes, and I'm a freelance copywriter, and I'm actually going for an MS in digital marketing through Rutgers University starting in the fall. So this is an awesome session, and thank you so much for doing it. I just had a question, since you mentioned that, you know, the products and services that Google now offers were unthinkable a decade ago, and the company is, you know, taking the lead, it seems, in holistic wellness for its employees. So I was interested in learning if you had any kind of feeling. I mean, you know, as an employee at Google, you probably know things that you're not allowed to tell us, but I wanted to know if, you know, how you see Google continuing to integrate into society in terms of tech, but also in terms of being a leader, being an employer over the next decade, and what that might look like.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, you can look at it from 3 levels, Sarah. The first is just our basic commitment to all of humanity was enshrined in 10 words the founders wrote down, Larry and Sergey wrote down when the company was founded. And to this day, it continues to be a mission statement. And this is the brilliance of the vision, that 10 words is all it took to really define the whole purpose of the company. And it survived 22 years since the company's founding. What are those 10 words? Organize the world's information to make it universally accessible and useful. To organize all of the world's information, make it universally accessible and useful. And this is essentially what the company has set out to do and has gone on to do. To begin with, it's democratized information. Anybody in the world with some connectivity to the internet has access to all publicly available published human knowledge. And this has made things very powerful. Take something like Google Maps. That kind of point-to-point communication direction, all of you probably grew up with it and take it for granted. But people like Michael and I know that when we were at Wharton, we didn't have access to it. You'd look at paper maps, and that kind of turn-by-turn navigation, which we keep in the palm of our hands. On this little device, anyone in the world with a phone, which is the cost of which has now dropped almost to $30 or so it's become very accessible to large tracts of the population, has access to the entire map of the globe in their pocket, for free. This has completely changed livelihoods. As I travel around the world, I see people, delivery boys and girls, going about their jobs, and other services like the livelihood earned by an Uber driver or Lyft driver would not have been possible without that Google Map layering, or new services in rural Africa. And I've seen like chicken being strapped to the back of a motorcycle and on demand being dropped off at your door. All of that enabled by this capability that is now freely available for anyone to take and use in an innovative way. So we made information accessible to everyone. In addition, we have also looked at small businesses, etc. There's so many of them thriving because they use tools provided by companies like Google, including digital advertising, for them to compete. So now all of a sudden, a small durian producer in Thailand is able to export the business. Recently, I was watching a video of this group of women in a village in rural Andhra Pradesh. They create incredibly tasty and very hot pickles, which is legendary in that part of India. But they've been able to find a global audience with it, both the Indian diaspora and others, gourmet chefs using their pickles. And this group of women in a tiny village are able to find a global market. So all of those are really transforming. The amount of economic transformation that it has created is pretty phenomenal. The third area is education. Many of the teachers and students that I know through my family connections talk about Google Classroom and how that is enabled. Again, if any of your teachers are pursuing a teaching career, you will know that these kind of technologies has completely changed the way the teaching is conducted. So I can keep, endlessly talking about all of the things that is done, from political participation to information dissemination. Take a platform like YouTube. All of you spend quite a bit of time on it. But look at the amount of creativity that is flourishing on that platform. Anyone with the ability to teach Spanish or teach someone how to play guitar, or if you got special culinary skills, becomes their own entertainment and education channel. So it has allowed the world's creativity to flow. All of this for free. The platform is completely free. It is very expensive to maintain the platform. And I can tell you that. You said there might be things you know about the company. Yes, I do know how much it costs to keep the platform going, because every single video uploaded, every single one is there and it's searchable. But it also comes with a certain challenge in that you have to put in some guardrails, in that people don't upload things that promote hate mail or against our policies. And that is not easy, because every minute, about 500 hours worth of video is getting uploaded. It's humanly impossible to watch all that and filter it. So we have to depend on machines and machine learning, etc. And not to mention, the company has taken commitments to solving problems that nobody has asked for it to solve, but it says this will be good. Can we use all of our resources to solve problems? For example, why is Google in the self-driving car business? It sort of pioneered that space because 1.8 million people get killed in car accidents every year. most of it caused by human errors. And they said, if we can fix that, we can save a lot of lives and save a lot of property damage. And hence the self-driving car project, to create a fully autonomous vehicle that can pick you up and drop you off without a driver being behind the wheel. And most recently, in November, we announced one of the biggest breakthroughs in biology, for those of you studying biology, and that was the protein fold problem. Of the 270 million or so proteins in nature, only less than 1% has actually been documented in terms of its structure. So we used artificial intelligence techniques to let the machine predict the 3D structure of a protein. And that has huge implications for the future in terms of both our understanding of biology and how it will be used in medicine. So there are lots and lots of examples like that, where the company keeps pushing the frontier and says, underneath all of that is this question: how can we use technology at scale, computational technology and lots of data, to solve problems in the human condition, is the primary question. In fact, that might be a good time to actually show this kind of a video. Akinjan, would you be able to project? I just wanted to share, just to kind of get a break in space.
Yeah, which one would you like me to share?
Yeah, I'll tell you. We'll try to show both at appropriate places. How much time do we have? We have another half an hour. So here's an example. One of the things that Google, principles that Google employs is innovation can come from anywhere, which means if you were Googlers, the assumption is that Doug can be innovative and Emin can be innovative, and Andrew or Bob Sopko could also be equally innovative. Any of these people are perfectly capable of coming up with innovation. And when you give people that kind of freedom, it's incredible what they'll do with it. And it's not a top-down approach. You can be sitting anywhere in the organization. You have the freedom to solve problems. And I want to show you how two engineers, friends of mine, solve this problem. And one of them is Dmitry Kanevsky. Now, Dmitry is originally from Russia. And Dmitry has one issue about that he has to deal with every day. He is got a hearing impairment. And therefore, if you have to communicate with Dmitry, since Dmitry is deaf, you have to tap him on the shoulder when you want to speak to him, and then he will go on the internet and find an interpreter for the hearing impaired, and a third person joins the conversation. Then we can have a three-way conversation. There's always that friction when you need to include Dmitry in a quick conversation or meeting. So right next to Dmitry sat another engineer, Chet Nagy, who, because he would interact with Dmitry, always had to go through an interpreter. He said, we should be able to solve the problem. These days, technology can listen to human voices. It can speak. It can type something and it is able to speak. So why don't we put it all together and create something? So using that freedom, innovation can come from anywhere. These two guys went to work at it and have built a solution. And I'll tell you how that solution serves humanity. In this video, we'll hear Dmitry talk about it. I've asked Akinjan to turn on the closed captioning, and so you to read the closed captioning to understand what Dmitry is saying, and there's a reason for that. He learned English growing up in Russia. So at the time, the only way he could learn it was the English phonetics were spelled out using the Russian alphabet, And since he cannot hear a native language speaker, nobody could correct him. And he just pronounces words in a certain way. So let's go ahead and roll that video. And just play till the point I said, asked you to stop it.
I'm set. Yeah. Ready?
Okay, John, can you turn closed captioning on? Click on the CC, yeah. Good, okay.
I completely lost hearing when I was 1 year old. Technology provides tremendous opportunities to help people with disabilities. I'm a research scientist at Google, and I'm developing speech recognition in technology. Speech recognition accuracy finally became so good that I could fulfill my dream for whole life. to use speech recognition to communicate with people. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine, and how are you?
I'm doing good. What can I get you today?
I would like tea. Like Transcribe is an application that runs in Android. It provides transcription of speech for deaf and hard of hearing in real time.
Dimitri worked with the speech team to develop that technology, and Google has made strides in this in the past couple years, but the app itself is what I've been working on. I'm not an Android engineer. I saw an opportunity for something useful and dug into that and kind of evolved naturally.
Did I?
So you can take the video. So that's an example. So what these two guys just built is an app. It's called Live Transcribe. Live Transcribe, it's free. You can download it on the Android store and use it. Whenever you come across someone with hard of hearing, you start speaking into it, and it transcribes what you're saying so the other person can read it. And even though they can't hear you, now they can communicate. And I've seen deaf people around the world use this app to go about their job. Recently, when we were able to go to a basketball game, I went to a Warriors game, and I tried to get the attention of one of the ushers, and she was not responding when I called her from behind. And then I realized that she couldn't hear me. But as soon as she turned around, she knew I was trying to talk to her. She pulled out this app and is delighted. And I told her I worked closely with the guys who created it, and she was ecstatic. And it's not just in English. It works in Turkish, it works in Arabic, it works in Malayalam, my mother tongue. So it's built to help people in all of those communities if they have some family member who's got a hearing impairment communicate. And the best of all, it is free. It is distributed free. We built it, but we give it away free. And all of a sudden, the 375 million hard of hearing people in the world have a tool which unlocks the world to them. Here's another example along those lines of really humane technology. We take this for granted, but on that video, we turned on closed captioning. And therefore, we were able to understand what is being said. For deaf people, all the content in YouTube has become accessible. The minute we turn closed captioning on, and closed captioning comes with translation. The original TED Talk might be in English, but you can watch it in Gujarati or Afrikaans or Creole, right? And that translation has allowed so much content. If you are from a country where the population group is small, the amount of content available in your language is going to be limited, naturally, right? Because fewer people speak that language. But thanks to closed captioning, it doesn't matter what the original content is. It could have been in Turkish or it could have been in Igbo, and you can still follow along. And that has unlocked so much educational and entertainment content for people around the world, where you can now cross language barriers and then consume the content, all provided for free. It costs us a lot to provide that infrastructure, and it's not humanly possible to do that. Or take Translate. How many of you use Google Translate on a frequent basis when you travel? Yeah, I do. I use it all the time when I'm in Japan or Brazil. I rely on it. And if you look at that tool, it was built over time, and it can now translate between almost 60 language pairs. In many cases, there is no two humans who speak that language. There's no human who speaks those two languages. You can't find a human translator. You have to go through a third language. And yet the technology has been built to do that. So all of a sudden, an Igbo speaker from Nigeria could be speaking to a Marathi speaker from Pune and communicating, even though in real life, there is no Igbo to Marathi translator available. So lots and lots of things like that have been enabled. That has been pretty incredible.
That's amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sarah.
And thank you for your question. Ashley, would you like to introduce yourself and ask your question?
Sure. Hi, I'm Ashley. I work here I work here at Case, but I did just finish my MBA last May, or last August. Felt like some amount of time. And so my question is, because I do work in higher education on the finance side of things. I'm curious, what your thoughts are. Higher education is an interesting industry because although we have many faculty members that are doing research on the cutting edge and really coming up with really innovative insights and ways of doing things, we also have attributes of very large organizations and bureaucracies. So I'm just curious, what kinds of digital transformations you see on the horizon for higher education. For example, do you think Zoom is here to stay? Has it forever changed the college experience? Are there other inflection points of digital transformation you see on the horizon?
Absolutely. Again, then. So Ashley, when you were in your MBA, was Michael one of your professors?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. I was wondering, when I came across as very smart and educated, intelligent, I went, where did that come from? Clearly, Michael, student.
Yep.
Fabulous. Yeah. So what is the role of all of these technologies in higher education? I would say enormous. It has completely transformed higher education. To begin with, it has put access to, at your fingertips, all of the scholarly work. If you haven't used, I'm sure by now you know Google Scholar, but all of the published research, the amount of drilling down and research and you can do is enormous. And this is something we couldn't have done 10, 20 years ago. It has also allowed researchers to collaborate across many boundaries, including language and geographical boundaries. And you asked about video conferencing and tools. This will never substitute human connection. We will still travel, we'll still want to meet face, but it augments it. So there again, remember there were situations when Michael and I were at Wharton, when classmates could not congregate or they were traveling or something. It made it very difficult, and all we had was the telephone. And if you had a tool like this, it would have been fundamentally very, very transformative. So it is here to stay. It won't replace how we engage, because humans, we are mammals. We need to be, we need to have a sense of face-to-face connection and communion and touch. But it can step in its place when maybe a short, quick face-to-face meeting can be substituted by a virtual meeting and makes things convenient in terms of travel and commute, etc. So but the most important aspect of transformation of higher education is how the technology will get embedded into that research and learning process, and what tools like artificial intelligence and machine learning will bring to the speed at which we can drill through large bodies of data and look for patterns and come up with insights that we could not have otherwise had is pretty outstanding and phenomenal. And I could give you a longer answer to what those are. I want to make sure we are cognizant of time.
Thank you.
Go read up about the protein folding problem. Just research Google protein folding problem or Google protein folding innovation. And then you'll see an example of, this is done by DeepMind, our artificial intelligence subsidiary based out of the UK. And start giving an idea. Something like this it just would not have been possible 3 years ago. And it's dramatic how that is going to change. Oh, whoa.
Thank
Tom,
you.
you're wearing a pen shirt. Tom? Oh, yes, yeah. I said you're wearing a pen t-shirt. And I'm just applauding you for your sense of style and fashion.
I think we have time for one last question. Mabel, would you like to introduce yourself and ask your question?
Sure, pleasure. I'm a business owner for the marketing, so we use a lot of digital marketing. But I'm new to US. I'm newly admitted student for EMBA program for Weatherhead Management School. My question is, because for me, I'm still new to learn. For me, the Google is more like a searching engine and a Google map. And I would like to gain a clear idea about what Google is doing for the digital transformation. Is there a summary? Like earlier we talked about Starbucks app is what kind of role Google is behind those apps. Sorry, my Siri start to talk. So like for the Google, for the Starbucks map app, what Google is playing a role behind. And also, I have a second question is, in a way, technology has helped our life a lot, but it also penetrates into our life. For example, I searched a mattress company on Google, and later when I played YouTube, the same mattress brand advertisement will play on my YouTube advertisement. I was really surprised. It's like Google transforming my search on the Google to YouTube so that I was exactly targeted for the same brand of mattress. So.
Yeah, so there's, let me try to answer that question, Mabel. There's like 7 or 8 questions embedded there. But let me give you the simple version of it. So if you're a small business owner and trying to see what are the range of solutions that are available to you to digital transform your business, when you go to google.com, at the bottom, you should see, let me try and look and see where, because the interface might have changed. Go to, I'm switching to my Google homepage, google.com. And right, is it at the bottom? Yeah, under bottom, on the left, you see advertising and business, click on business. Okay, if you click on business in the bottom left corner, you'll say, let's find the right products to help grow your business. And then it starts listing all of the things. Achieve goals that matter, make the most of web with tools from Google, etc. In fact, well, if you want.
Sorry, it's a Google business, right?
Correct, yeah, Google Business. And if you want others to see, John, you can go ahead and project your screen and do it. So using screen share, we can show people where quickly to find it. So it's a lot of business. You want to bring it up?
You want me share?
So go to google.com. Yeah, business at the bottom, the second one. Yep. So Google for small business. So this lists all the things, digital toolkit, learning, what you can do for COVID. Keep scrolling, Akinaja. You can create an entire plan, reach more customers, work more efficiently, stand out online, make the most of the web with tools from Google. So there is a huge array of offering available for small business with examples of other small businesses that have implemented it. Okay, so this should pretty much answer a lot of your questions. You could spend days on this and really transform your business. So go ahead and explore this when you get a chance after this meeting is over. So that should answer your first question. And the second question in terms of when you look for something, there was an ad that appeared. Some of it is done. I mean, the internet ecosystem is done, and much of it is changing also. But when Google does it, it is a couple of things are going on. One, it is established that you're interested in mattress. So rather than show you any ad, it's more useful to show you a mattress ad because that's what you're interested in currently. Why show your car ad? Do we show ads on YouTube? Yes, we do, because it's an ad play platform. It costs a lot of money to run the platform. So it's an ecosystem where advertising generates a revenue that allows us to keep the internet free, that allows the creators to publishers to publish their content. And a lot of that gets paid to the publishers. So very active publishers who publish content, for example, on YouTube, get paid for providing, and they get their compensation, whether it's musicians or someone who does like a food-related campaign. You also need to know that you can exercise control over it if advertising is something that you don't want to watch. There's go to your Google account, and a lot of controls that you can do to the settings that you prefer. Certain kind of ads you may not want to see, etc. So make sure that you weigh the settings. And finally, specifically within YouTube, There's a way to say, I don't want to see any ads, and that is go with YouTube Premium, in which case it's a subscription service and all ads are turned off because you prefer not to see any of it. So exercise that control as an individual user. We believe it is important for users to have the choice, and we give you the choice. Often you may be unaware of it. So educate yourself about it and exercise that choice would be my final advice on it. But before we finish, I wanted to touch upon one of the key axioms of Google, and maybe we'll close up with that, John, with the last video I sent you, and that is 10x thinking. The way, what drives a lot of the transformation at Google is to think 10x. The idea behind 10x thinking, a mantra that the founders taught us in, is that, let me go to grid view so I can see more of you, is that the idea behind 10x thinking is solve problems and try to make something 10 times better, 10 times faster, 10 times less expensive. Because when you want to solve a problem, if you only make it 10% better, 15% better, you'll incrementally improve what you already have. You make the car go an extra mile on a gasoline of gas. But when you have to make the car go 10x faster or carry 10 times more people, that's when you may come up with solutions like air travel and try to invent a plane. So 10x thinking is something that permeates the way Google tries to look at the world and solve problems. For 10x thinking to happen, for problems to be solved on a 10x scale, three things have to come together. Three things being, we look at some big problem that exists in the human condition that has not been solved. Second, then we imagine radical solutions. When I say radical solutions, it has to be wild, crazy solution, almost bordering on lunacy. It's a trick to let the brain imagine really far out solutions. And the third thing, those crazy, wild solutions will just remain an ivory tower idea unless we bring it down to earth with the practical implementation. And we do that by using technology. So here's an example, okay? And maybe I'll use Mindy as an example. So Mindy, have you recently ordered a package online of some kind? Yeah. Typically, how much does it weigh? On an average, take a guess.
Typically, I don't know, less than 10 pounds.
Less than 10 pounds. Usually 1, 2, 3, 4 pounds, right? But think of the machine that brought the package to your door. That was 15,000 pounds. Mm-hmm. Right? It's a truck that brings it. That seems a not very efficient way of transporting packages. Plus, in big cities, these machines that bring those 1 pound packages, and it could be a couple of batteries you ordered, they block off traffic. This way in New York, it's hard to get around because outside every high-rise building, these delivery trucks are standing, taking up the first lane, and it chokes up traffic, right? This to us seemed like very inefficient. And as more and more people are ordering things, is there a more efficient way of getting packages to people and solve the friction? Even things like right now you order food. You could order a burrito or a masala dosa, and somebody comes in a car to drop it off, and there's a lot of transportation going on. Is there a way by which we can deliver hot food to you right from the chef's kitchen directly to you without engaging such a big machine? This is a 10x problem we are trying to solve, and one of the projects at Google called Project Wing is attempting to do that. We're still far away from a commercial solution, but I want to show in this video how we are running the experiment around it. So Akinjan, go ahead and play the video. This is an example of 10x thinking at Google.
Hey Gopi, just because of time, we're sort of at the hour mark. I see John he just put the link to the video in the chat so that the folks can watch it afterwards. I just want to.
I didn't realize we out of time. Yeah, don't worry about it. Thank you. I'll let you close it off then. Back to you.
Well, it's great. I will. Awesome. This is such a great session. Akinjan, thank you for being such an awesome moderator, and I really appreciate your leadership on this. And to everyone who joined today, thank you so much for joining. Gopi, it's awesome to reconnect. You were always, even in our class of 800 students at Wharton, you were someone that stood out and always, were even back then, very enlightened and charismatic. And I've loved watching what you've done since Wharton, and really appreciate you spending time with our Case Western Reserve community, and love to have you in Cleveland at some point post-pandemic for sure.
Sure. I would love to come on campus and speak sometime. So let's make that happen. Let's put that as our 2021 goal towards the end of the year.
We'd love it. Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for joining, and have a wonderful day.